What's going on, people? We are live. And again, look, apologies. It's my fault, totally my fault. I've put out 7, and for some reason, I agreed 8. But again, we're live, and we've done it. Kobe, we've done it.
We've done it, mate. The Premier League, international stage.
Hold on. Big up. Hold on. Over 600 appearances. Professional.
Over 150 goals, mate.
100 goals. I think he played for England as well.
Yeah, England. How many honours? Did he win? How many trophies? Major trophies. 6, was it?
Yeah, I think he did a treble as well. You know. But guys, if you don't know who we're talking about, obviously the man of the moment. Let's bring him in, Mr. Emile Heskey, man. There he is.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah.
Hi, Emil.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good.
Nah, good. Listen, man. Twitter and all social media's been popping off as soon as I announced Emile Heskey's gonna come on. It was like, what? Emile Heskey, you know. So
mate, I've been having that heart attack all day. I've come out in a rash. I've come out in all sorts of nervousness. Mate, yeah. I used to model myself on you years ago when I played. I used to be like, when I was at school, I'd be like, Heskey!
No, I heard you wasn't a bad striker as well.
Well, Emile Heskey just said that I wasn't a bad striker. Pay attention.
Emile, how you been though during this time as well, especially?
Yeah, look, it's difficult times for everyone. I've been lucky enough because I'm working with Leicester. I'm working with the women's football, so we're professional, and we're allowed to. Obviously, we've got to train and get prepared for games. So I'm in near enough every day doing that, which is obviously a lot. It gives me a bit of room to get out and do what I love doing, being on the football pitch.
No, of course. I mean, how are you finding that role as well? With the women's team at Leicester City. Good,
I'm enjoying it. I actually started off as ambassador, and then they asked me to do a bit of coaching, and now, I'm there every day. So it's changed, it's morphed into a kind of a full-time coaching role, which I'm enjoying every minute of it, to be honest with you. We're not doing too bad. We're top of the league by 3 points. So and in the semi-finals of the League Cup, Continental Cup. So we're doing okay.
Nice. It's very humble there. Doing okay.
What do you class as the biggest difference between going into the women's game from the men's game? What's the biggest difference you've noticed?
The thing is, you've just got to look at it differently. Again, physicality is different. One thing I will say is, you tell the boys, the lads, to do something, they'll go and do it. But when you're explaining it to the girls, they want more detail. And they'll keep asking question after question until they've got all that detail and then go and do it. Whereas the boys will just literally go and do it. And then you'll have to bring them back in and ask them after.
Start.
But the girls take a lot of information in, and they want a lot of information. But it's good. It's just different. And you've got to mold your coaching philosophies around that.
Yeah, we spoke to a lot of people in the ladies' game recently, haven't we, Clint? One thing they've said, I've had a little stint in the ladies' football as well, and one thing that's sort of the common denominator is that they're very coachable.
Yeah.
So coachable, and when they're willing to learn, it's always the same sort of things that you're hearing, and it's great that you're said exactly the same thing, really. So it's good.
Yeah.
I've got an early question in here from Dan. Shout out to Dan as well. He's been helping out with the visuals as well. Just saying, evening, gents. Emil, do you think there's enough being done for the women's and girls' game at grassroots level? Also, what do you think can be done to make football more appealing for young girls?
I think there's so much that can be done. Again, we kind of tailor everything around what we've done with the boys. So we're not really looking at what the girls actually want. So that's one of the things. What's your entry level into girls football? Where is it? Is it at school? Is it at a football club? Is there enough football clubs? Is there enough social clubs? Is there enough stuff? And the one thing as well that what we've got to understand is I will allow my son to go. I know this is just talking from a parent's point of view. I will allow my son to jump on a bus and go down to play and train down here, but I will rather take my daughter than let her just go and not knowing what the environment's like and everything. I would want to scope all that out beforehand before allowing my daughter to go down there. Where there's a boy, you just go on, get out, go on, get out of the house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's totally different in that sense. I think just safe environments at grassroots with good coaches. Because again, we're looking at women's football and we're saying, oh yeah, they can't do this, they can't do that, but they haven't been coached like we have been coached from a young age. So you inevitably, some of the stuff is like it could be a taxi driver. No disrespect to taxi drivers, but it could be a taxi driver coaching them, and then you're bringing them into a what you call as a more structured environment, and they can't do this and can't do that because they've never been coached that. So we've just got to put plans in place that allow them to progress. I think there was an article about goalkeeping. How the goalkeeper saying we're probably about 15. They're probably about 15 years behind the actual outfield players.
Wow!
Because generally it's an old man who can hardly kick a ball trying to coach you how to kick a ball and trying to kick a ball into you to try and save. So these sort of things, I think we've just got to take it right back to the beginning of the show and just go with the fundamentals and try to build it up. So when they come to this age at 14, 15, they're more or less on par with you can't even look at the boys, but they're more or less on par with, say, the Americans on how they're doing it, or whoever's top of the rankings.
So, Emil, the name of the show is called Back to the Roots. So I want to take you back to when you first started. Now, I spoke to you before, and obviously heard like when your entry point is different to other people's entry point. So just talk us through like when you first got involved in Sunday League football.
Sunday League football, I actually started playing for Leicester before I started playing Sunday League. I got spotted playing for the school, who then sent me to what they call Centre of Excellence. So just in a hall, well, when I say a hall, the indoor arena with coaches from Leicester and with a group of probably about 30 to 50 kids. And then they slowly start whittling it down. So that was my first entry into football at that level. Then grassroots football, one of the players' dads saw me there and asked me if I wanted to play Sunday League. I said, well, go and speak to my dad. And then that was a challenge because Sundays is church. So that is another challenge that you have to overcome. And then if you're persistent enough, then they just say, yeah, go and take him.
That's crazy. So not only you got to deal with your dad, who again, he was a doorman, wasn't he? So I'm sure he was like a decent size. He was. Yeah. And then obviously you got to deal with church as well. You can't deal with the Lord, like you can't go against the Lord. And then obviously you got to convince you to come out of, what the kind of setup that you're in already. Do you know what I mean? So
I never came out of Leicester City, which is the Centre of Excellence, because we trained Tuesday, Thursday, and played on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So then I played on Sundays as well. So I never came out of that. It was just that was the first time I'd even thought of playing Sunday leagues, because I'd never really thought of playing that. I'd just played at school.
Yeah.
And then played with Leicester City as well. So then that came as well, which was great but again, I lived one side of Leicester and I was playing for a team in the sticks on the other side of Leicester. So it was like 35, 40-minute drive. So people were having to pick me up and take me there. My mum and dad didn't drive at the time. Yeah. So people were having to pick me up from here, take me down there and drop me back into this part. And then I'd walk to my grandma's. And yeah, it was crazy.
And you played for the Rugby Groupe, is that correct?
Yeah, Rugby and Groupe,
yeah. So,
how many hundreds of goals did you score per season?
Do you know what? I played at the back first.
Wow.
The reason I played at the back was at a young age, you don't really, and I didn't really know positions and stuff like that. So they'd ask me, what position do you want to play? And I went, I just shrugged my shoulders. So they put me at the back because I was taller than everyone else. But then I started getting the ball and running through everyone and trying to shoot. So I said, no, just put him up front.
Apparently, all the best centre forwards start at centre half
because you can see things better.
you know what defenders like, and you know what they don't like.
Yeah,
so you know how to rattle them. You know how to rattle them.
Definitely.
So you're playing at the back, then you obviously make your way forward, and then obviously you make your eventual breakthrough at 17. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what's that like? 17. Is it Mark McGee's the manager at the time?
Mark McGee's the manager. I'd actually played in a pre-season friendly, which I was 16 at the time, but obviously that's not classed as a competitive game. So it was 17 before I actually made my debut. I used to travel with the first team. I trained with them every now and again. Then I'd travel with them, helping just to get a feel of what everything's about. Then you'd help out cleaning up, collecting the kit with the kit man, etc. But you're part of the squad. And then we went QPR away, and then that night or that day actually, a couple of lads went down with a sickness. So the manager didn't tell me or anything. And what they used to do back in the day is different now. Obviously, you get the team before, like 2 days before, sometimes 1 day before. Back in the day, you used to get it like an hour before kickoff. So they just reveal the team on a board, and there's my name at the bottom there, and I'm like, oh, here we go. But it was probably the best way of doing it, right? Reason being is you won't lose, you never lost sleep. You know, if you're overthinking and over worrying at times about the game, you could lose a lot of sleep, and I never did, so it was good.
Who was the game against? Do you remember?
QPR away.
QPR. And result?
We lost 2-0, I think. It was. I was only 17 at the time, but it wasn't the best of games. But it gave me an insight into how far I was away from actually looking at all the others, Ince, Sinclair, players like that playing against players like that. How far I was behind. But I had a mindset of learning very quickly and getting myself up to scratch. So within a couple of games, I was ready to put myself back in there.
And then how long was it before? Because you obviously came to prominence under Martin O'Neill. So what was it between 17 to then? What was the journey between then?
That season we got relegated. Mark McGee left and went to, where did he go? Wolves. Yeah. Mark McGee left and went to Wolves. Martin O'Neill came in. And I'd played a couple of games up to then now, scored a couple of goals as well. And he'd obviously seen me because he came from Norwich. And just before we played Norwich, a week or so before we played Norwich, he resigned. And then we beat Norwich, I think it was 3-2. I scored one and set one up. And he was in the stands, and then the following week he'd actually joined us as a manager, and then obviously came up to me and said, "Oh, look, I'm going to be looking to play you a bit more than you probably would have thought," and blah blah. So I said, "Yeah, that's cool. I'm ready."
Probably that last day. Nah, I'm ready.
But the thing is, especially when you're a younger kid, you're so confident in your ability, and I've been around the first team by this time. I've been around the first team probably 6 months, so I'm used to being around them, and I'm handling my own, and I'm ready to start.
One of your most when you check Heskey goals or whenever they do old throwbacks on Match of the Day or Premier League things, that goal you scored, I think it was against Southampton. How old was you then when you just beat? I think you 18. Beat. Barry Venison, was it, tried to come in the side up? Yeah. And then you just ripped it into the top bins. Was you 17?
No, I was 18 by then.
Oh, 18. No, that's all right.
Yeah, I was 18.
Mate, you just absolutely levered it into the top bins.
Yeah. That was what I was about when getting the ball turning. And this is one of the things that Martin O'Neill was great for me personally. He didn't take away from what I was good at. So he would actually encourage it. And if I didn't do it, he'd have a go at me for not doing it. So that sort of stuff where you're getting the ball and you turn and you just go, just run. Commit defenders, try and create fouls, try and create shots or crosses or whatever it is, but just cause havoc. And that was the thing that he encouraged. He never took that away from me. And this is a thing where a lot of coaches, and you see like, I'm probably going to say Joe Cole, when he first burst onto the scene, you saw a player and you're like, wow. And then when he goes to Chelsea, it kind of changes a little bit. And I think it's to fit in the actual system and to fit in the way that the manager wants you to play. But Martin O'Neill allowed me to just go and express myself. And if I didn't, he'd have a go at me for not doing that, which was good.
I think a lot of there's been a comment in here saying that Michael Owen said that you was his best strike partner, and I think you caused so much havoc because of the way you played, and the centre half's probably attention was so focused on you. A lot of your strike partners benefited massively from that, and maybe got a bit more glory than you, and hence the goal scoring. Say you play like with Michael Owen. Your work rate would enable him to probably score an extra 10, 15 goals per season. And that was pretty much what you was about, really, as a player, centre forward.
I think you've just got to find a niche and roll with it and play it and enjoy it. I never came in saying I'm going to be this goal scorer. I think that was what Michael was all about. We spoke about it before where we were comparing on, I think it was on another one, we were comparing Michael and Wayne Rooney. And I was saying, well, it's two totally different people you're comparing, because Michael, if you ask Michael to play left wing, he's not playing left wing because Michael's a goal scorer. He just only wants to score goals. If you ask Wayne Rooney to play left wing, he'll say, okay, what do you want me to do though? How do you want it to look? And that was the thing. And I was just pretty much the same. I play left wing, right bit. I played every position. The only position I didn't play was goalkeeper. I played centre back. I played right back, left wing back, left wing, right wing.
Top players can play anywhere.
Well, you see, and you know what? You get a rounder aspect of the whole game, because you go from that, you go to a different position. You're like, oh, well, it looks a little bit different here. What do you do?
Yeah.
But if you have good players around you, they can coach you through that and tell you, no, tuck in here, tuck in there, come back. But again, you've got to listen as well.
Yeah,
that's very true. Got another comment here from Jack Osborne saying, yes, Emil, a lot of the work you're doing with Leicester's women team. Big thumbs up. Thank you for the memories. First game I went to was Chesterfield in the League Cup. Boxers legend. Do you remember that one?
I can't remember it, to be honest. There's so many games, to be honest with you. It's tough. I remember some, but not all of them, to be honest. Chesterfield.
Fair enough.
And this is the thing. You're looking at the teams like Chesterfield, Port Vale, where they are now, and where they actually were when I was Luton. When I first come on, they were top clubs and really trying to push into the top leagues, and now they suddenly fell away, and it just changes, swings and roundabouts at times. It just changes so quickly.
No, of course. Sorry, I just had another one come up from Daily Coaching. They're saying there's a big emphasis on competitive games in secondary school, but not as much in primary school setting. How important do you think this is for long-term decision-making, problem-solving?
I think competitive anything, sports. I think sports is great to keep everyone fit and focused and everything. And I think you've got to make it competitive, because inevitably when you leave school, we're all going to go for a job, and we're all going to be competitive because I want to get the job ahead of you. So if you've not had that competition within anything that you've done, you don't know how to deal with it, and you don't know how to deal with that setback. I know the times when I lost in athletics. I loved athletics when I was a young kid, and I know the times that I lost in athletics, and I know how I felt, and I didn't want to feel like that again. So I'd work to go and beat them again. So we're taking away a lot of this competitiveness out of why. This is great for kids to gloat and to have that feeling of winning something ahead of other people, and then having them to come and try and challenge you back, but you've got to work harder to beat them again. But then we're going to go, and then we're going to take that away from them, and then we're going to put them into this big world where everything's competitive, and I'm vying for all these different jobs, all these different spaces on these different platforms, and we don't know how to deal with it.
Well, we talked from early, right?
You've got to teach them. You've got to allow them to be competitive. You've got to allow them to understand the defeats, but being able to bounce back from them. and coming back stronger. We're taking that away from all this, and sports is a massive way of giving them that, but we're taking that away. Everyone gets a medal. Everyone's a winner. I don't think so.
Yeah, spot on.
Got another one here from Chris Tierney from Stoke Poges. In fact, he's offering you a shirt, Emil. So again, if you want a free shirt from him, then get in contact with him from Stoke Poges. He's saying, for now, what's your ultimate career highlight? Obviously, you've done so many things which we've not even got onto yet, but what's your ultimate career highlight?
The thing is, you can say so many, making your debut, blah, blah, blah. I think the one that gets stopped for on the street is obviously the 5-1 England game. That's one of the biggest highlights, because everyone will remember that for But making my debut, doing something that I believed I could do, dreaming about it and achieving it, is one of the biggest highlights.
Yeah. I think you might know this person, Craig Heskey. Saying, now as a parent, what do you do to protect your boys of the danger of making football their only goal in life? Do you educate them about the other interests and hobbies are just or as important?
Well, this is the thing. I started a platform with a company with a couple of ex-players that we went through education. Actually, I'm on it now, UEFA MIP, a Master for International Players. And it's with Gaisca Mendieta, Stillian Petrov, Michael Johnson, and Gareth Farrelly. And we just decided to come together. We'd been on this journey and we'd never thought about education up until we finished our career. And so we've seen, how can we actually give back? And this is one of the things that we've formed the project together, where we're going to be educating young wannabe players into the fact that they can look at other things alongside their career. They can have dual careers. They do it in women's football brilliantly. Our centre back is a qualified lawyer, and she's got an A license. So, we don't really do that in the men's game for some reason, where we kick these players out of football and they're just lost. They're just in this wilderness. Where now it's a case of how can we put something in place that allows them to flourish in other aspects alongside their playing career? Because one thing I will say is a lot of people lose their mind at times when they overthink football, and that's football is the only thing they've got. But if they can go from there and go into, say, a studio with you guys, and they're doing that, and they're running a podcast or they're running something, that takes their mind away from football. Yeah. And they're still learning. Yeah. So don't you think
that's got something to do with the monetary in football, men's football and ladies football, where the women maybe are forced to get a second?
The women are forced to get it, but I don't see why the men can't do it themselves as well.
Yeah, a bit of ignorance maybe.
Yeah, I think that is it. But again, I think this is where you would like to think PFA have a bigger role to play in it. But I think the actual ex-players have a massive role to play in it, to actually give back to the younger generation and telling them, no, go on, have a look at that. You finish training sometimes at 1 o'clock, you've got the rest of the day to yourself, and they're sitting there playing computers. Why not take an hour to study something else? Why not take 2? Why not take, like we're saying, the centre back is a qualified lawyer. Why not do that? You can always do these sort of things, and then as well, you're not beholden to being a footballer all the time. And then as well, you're only one bad injury away from that being all taken away from you. But then you still have something else to fall back on. And there's so many different, and as well, it's not taking you away from football, because there's so many, all these industries that you're going to do, they've still got them in football that you can actually still stay within it.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question from? He's one of my players, Carlos.
That's that one as well, yeah.
Yeah, Carlos Flood. He's saying, any advice for young players that aren't in the academy system anymore, but are still trying to make it pro? This boy is 18 years old, and he plays for us now. He's playing senior men's football, and he's probably the most exciting 18-year-old I've seen in non-league football for quite a few years. And he's so dedicated, and you can tell he wants to get back into the pro game. So once you leave academies, it's a bit harder to get. There's no in between, is there really? After you leave academy, you're sort of in limbo.
Yeah, you're kind of in limbo, but then again, they still like what you're doing. I know they do the BTECs and stuff like that as well, which you still have eyes on. They still have eyes on thingy. At times, it's better. It's better that way because he'll be playing against men, and he'll be growing up quicker. So then he can go back in the lower levels and knowing that he can handle himself against them men, and then he can progress up that ladder. Jamie Vardy's done it. Ian Wright did it.
Yeah,
the best. Ian Wright, you got a Premier League record breaker. Jamie Vardy, I think what did he get? 12 in a row, or something, 13 in a row, or something like that.
Yeah. He's a Premier League record. Yeah.
Fell out and came back up, but he built himself back up, and he's playing against men. A lot of these 23s and all that, they're playing against all people their own age. Make a mistake, and it's fine because it's about education, learning. But then make that mistake against
in my team.
You're struggling because the guy next to you needs his bonus, and he's going to tell you about it as well. So these things you'll learn very, very quickly playing in professional environments. When I say professional, adult environments.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that Carlos needs to stay with me
until he's 34.
and kids until like Liverpool or someone comes in. Yeah, cheers.
Funny enough, you mentioned Liverpool as well. So going back to your career, Emil. So you was at Leicester for what, 6 years, and then obviously get the big move, professionally, to Liverpool. What was that like? Because again, you're leaving your boyhood club, basically growing up as well, signing for Liverpool. Got the likes of Owen there, all these players there, and all the rest of it. What was that like?
It was huge. It was big, and it was great. I got to remember I was an international player by this time anyway, so I'd been around a lot of them. So that didn't really faze me at all. It was just great to be looking at possibly winning the league, winning in Europe, that sort of stuff. I left Leicester. We just won the League Cup as well, so I'd left Leicester in a great position as well. So that was great. Toughest part was actually moving cities. I was still a kid. I was 22 years old when I left, and I was still a young kid at heart, really, and I just didn't deal with the actual moving away from Leicester and moving to another city quite well. I dealt with the football side of things, was great, being around the teammates and everything that can take your mind off a lot of things, but being out of my comfort zone, being out of my own city was tough. And this is as well where you don't realize how easy life is with these smartphones. You want food, you can order food. You want a taxi, you can order a taxi. You want to know what's down the road, you just got Google and you have a look and you zoom in and you can see whatever. Where that back then we didn't have no sat navs, we just about had a flip phone. We had Snake.
Yeah. You left Leicester, went to Liverpool with a 3310.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly. So
Liverpool's record ever signing.
You can dial. That's about it. So it was tough to even just. I didn't know how to get to training. I had to get people to come and take me to training and stuff like that. And you don't want to be people depending on you. So I had to grow up very quickly.
But when you got to training, you were a little bit in awe. Was he, as you said, you was already international by then? Was it just kind of took it in your stride, or did you think to yourself, "Oh,
yeah"? When I first got in there, yeah, Jamie Redknapp, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, players like that, Sammy Hippier, Stefan Hencher. But I'd been around a lot of the English ones, so it kind of quickly wore off. But yeah, you're in this bigger environment. You're at Melwood. And it's not the new Melwood, it was the old one. So it was like hallowed. It was wonderful. But yeah, then obviously get settled in and enjoy every minute of it.
What was it like playing under, obviously, Gerard Houllier, God rest his soul? What was he like?
Wonderful, great. Real tactician. I'd gone from playing under Martin O'Neill, didn't give you too much information because he didn't like the information overload. He just wanted you to be simple, play your game, enjoy it. We will play the way we want to play. Yes, we'll look at you a little bit, but we'll play the way we want to play, and we'll play percentages. We'll get it in the box and just go and attack it, blah, blah. Then to having real tactics with Gerard Houllier, where we could spend 40 minutes at times doing tactics.
Wow.
You know, without a ball.
Wow.
Yeah. Suddenly having to warm down, never known what that was before. You know, we're just doing looking after your diet, taking all these vitamins, this, that, looking at, you know, even looking at sleep patterns. And you're talking in 2000, we're looking at sleep patterns, all that sort of stuff. It was good. If you didn't buy into it, you think, oh, it's too much. But once you bought into it and you saw the difference, because we played that first season, we played 60 plus games in that one season. I remember one week we played like Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, or something stupid like that, because we just had a backlog of games. And that was when you got through to, especially in the League Cup, when you got through, it's 2 legs. So it was a lot of games, but he was brilliant. He was fantastic, and he was like more of a teacher and a mentor and everything. So he understood the young lads.
So you won 3 trophies. You won the treble.
Yeah.
And then you went on to obviously win the following year. You went on to win the community, the Charity Shield, and then you beat Bayern Munich in the Super Cup. Come on. So out of all them 5 games, where you obviously the finals, we had Darren Purse on the show last week. I know you played in the Worthington Cup. I'm guessing out of the 5, that was the toughest game with Percy marking you.
Am I supposed to say yeah?
No, say yeah, bro.
Do you know what? The toughest one was the last one. We played the last one. The toughest one was the UEFA Cup. That was like the 60 whatever game, and I was just running on adrenaline, and I can't remember the game. I had to watch the game back. Yeah, it was just you know, when you played a lot of football. By that time it was just but it was, you know, won it, so that was amazing.
What a year that must have been. What an experience them 2 seasons must have been.
It was crazy because again that was my first season as well. That was my first full season.
22 goals as well.
Yeah, and to do that, you're like, wow. But the next step was trying to challenge for the league, and that was where we just fell down short a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Got a question in here from Abigail. Shout out to you. So Abigail saying the pathway for girls football often tails off when they reach the 16 to 18 group at Grassroots, especially when a club doesn't have a women's team to feed into. How do you think we can combat this?
I think the RTC do regional talent centres. They do a lot up to that age group, and then like you're saying, if they haven't got, I know a lot of clubs are now forming women's teams from youth upward, so 16s upward. But again, it's whether the teams around that area. So in the Midlands, we have in East Midlands we have us. I think Derby are the league below us. I think Forest are the league below us. And I think that's it for the East Midlands.
That's it.
I think that's it for the East Midlands. And then you go over to the West, I think Coventry, and I know Birmingham and Villa are in the top league, top division. Mm. So you do have them in the areas, but you'll have to travel a lot. And this is where you probably think that people who are more in the inner city, how do you actually get to that? Yeah. How do you get to these clubs? And this is where I think more needs to be done. We can go in, for boys, we're in the inner city and we can play football. And we can get to, because within the boys' academies, they'll have people picking them up, driving, taking them there, picking them up from there, dropping them back home. And within the girls, it's such in its infancy that they haven't even delved into any of that yet.
Yeah.
Wow. Got another question here from Jake saying, I think you kind of know this, the first bit. It says, who would you say is the best player you've played with and against?
Best player I've played with, the best striker I played with, my favourite striker is obviously Michael. Best player I played with, probably Stevie or or Paul Scholes. Best player I played against, I'd have to say R9, Ronaldo.
Man, I mean, what's going through your mind when you're watching R9? Just like, wow.
You know what? The funny thing is, right? We played in the 2002, so we lined up against them and everything, and we were not scared of anyone. But when you look back at it, they had Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and Ronaldinho up front.
Good luck.
That's three Ballon d'Or winners. And then guess what? They thought, let's just have another one on the bench. They got Kaká on the bench.
Oh my days. Oh.
Oh, man. But talking about international now, so again, obviously you played a fair bit for England, let's say. Obviously, you know, for that moment in the 5-1 against Germany. But talk to me about your England career as a whole. What was your highlights apart from that? And even your first game, in fact, what was going through your mind? Like the first game for England, like making you full clap. What was that like?
What was that? Not Bulgaria. I think it's Hungary away at my first ever appearance.
That's what I said.
I can't even remember who I came on for. Was it Kevin Phillips? Was it Teddy Sheringham or Kevin Phillips? One of those. But yeah, just, you know, I was like, again, I'm a young lad that I knew what I could do, and I wanted to go and perform. I wanted to go and play. That was what, when you're playing football, that's your arena. That's what you know you're good at. So and especially when you're playing international, I played from 16 upwards. So England are 16s all the way up to the first team. So I understood international football as well, and it wasn't rocket science. So I enjoyed that. Favorite moment, probably going to the World Cups.
Yeah,
2002 was special, man. That game against Brazil. Yeah, games like that. Denmark.
Generation, right?
So that again, sorry.
Part of that golden generation, you know.
Well, you say golden generation, everyone labels you, and this is the thing. Labeling people. Golden generation. Who had the golden generation? France probably had the golden generation. They were the ones winning stuff. They were, you know, France. I'll give you my age group of France, and I always tell people this. My age group of France: Anelka, Henry, Trezeguet, Sylvestre, William Gallas, Ousmane Darboe, Willy Sagnol. There was another lad who played for West Ham for a little bit, Edouard Cissé. And then you add in Zidane and all them. That's the golden generation.
Yeah, I know, but it's just always with England, like they always say the golden generation. It was Beckham, Scholes, Gerard, yourself, Owen, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. We probably should have done better than we did. But when you're coming up against Brazil, who have a knack, Germany, who have a knack, knowing exactly how to do tournaments. And this is one of the things that I think we don't do enough of, especially within our youth setups, is playing tournaments, because we don't know how to see out games, how to manage games, how to win games convincingly as well, knowing that you've got a set amount of time to go to kill off a game. They do it so well in Germany. They play tournaments, and they're aggressive with it as well from a very, very young age. So they know how to do all this.
That's going back to like what you said earlier about being competitive from an early age. None of this, you know, medals for all sort of thing. Like these guys compete at, you know, literally out the womb.
You're talking under eights, and they're really passionate about it as well, winning. You know, you'd have been to tournaments and you'd have had German teams coming over, and they don't care. They want to win. I've seen my kids play. Right? So, and it's funny. So over there they play the time. So they might play 5 minutes. So, but the ball goes off. Your time's still ticking. It's time still going. They will boot the ball as far away as possible. So you have to run and get it. Your time's still ticking. So they didn't even know game management at 8.
Yeah. We've got to be the only country where we're teaching, like we said earlier, but it does get frustrating. And I know there's like a new era, a new age of coaches coming through. that they're teaching the players like, oh yeah, it's like 16-0. Don't worry, it's all right. Here's a medal. Like, you took part, and you know, and it should have been 18-0. But that's why we've been so far behind of the likes of Germany and France and teams like this, and even the likes of Portugal and places that drum in at an early age that it's about winning. Sport is about winning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like you said earlier, you can't. Once you take that away from the winning away from it, it's done. It's done.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think there is development in there, but again, you need the balance. You need to win. You need to know how to win. You need to manage that game and get over the line.
Got a question in. I think you pretty much answered, but it's from Barry from the Cold. And shout out to Barry. What's the one thing that Emil would change to make the English football team better? I think you pretty much answered, but you must hear.
Yeah, look, I think competitiveness from a young age is key, and so that drives winners. Again, I'm a firm believer of certain coaching, even when you're talking about playing out from the back, etc. But fundamentally, you're a defender, so the first thing you need to do is know how to defend. If I've got a ball player and I'm thinking, yeah, he's really good on the ball, but he can't defend. Yeah, but he's really good on the ball. Well, that's not what I need him for. I've got a midfielder that can come and take that off him and then drive it. I need him to know how to defend. I need him to know about his position, and I need to know about I need him to understand how to bark instructions. I need to know how to marshal his whole back line. And this is something that George Graham used to do with Tony Adams. And when you look back, that's the last era, Sol, then Rio, the last era of real solid defenders.
We've got another one here from Jake as well, saying one club you didn't play for but wish you would have.
I don't know, to be honest with you. In the Premier League, it probably I grew up and obviously saw the likes of Ian Wright, Paul Davis, Michael Thomas, players like that playing for
You're
Arsenal.
a gooner, ain't you? You're a gooner. See, I knew it.
You know what is, so when you're growing up and you're seeing that on your television, you're like, wow. Yeah. But I'm obviously a Liverpool fan, so but I was fascinated with that, to be honest, because you never ever saw that.
Yeah.
Got another one here from Lee. This is an interesting one. Why do we never see retiring players become referees?
Because of the abuse you give us. It would be fascinating, to be honest with you, because I've always said, even when you're talking about decision making and stuff like that, I've always said, why didn't they get in at Stockley Park with the VAR? Why don't they actually get a player in there? Because he'll give you a different point of view, and he'll tell you, "Nah, he's cheated you there." Because I can tell when people's cheated.
Yeah.
Imagine Roy Keane in the bar. It's like, nah, give me that. No.
But this is the thing. But again, when you get, especially within football, when you come out of football, they don't really want your opinion back in there. It's like, well, I've played it. I've sat there. I've been in the dressing room. I know what he's doing, and that is not that. Even down this new rule about the handball, was it? Your arms in an unnatural position. Who told you that's an unnatural position for football? It's nonsense.
I'll tell you what, I watched the game last night, Liverpool v Burnley, and there was the worst handball I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, but I don't even see no one's spoken about it. It's been not even spoken about. Did anyone see it, or is it just me? When Trent tried to cross it and it blatantly hit the guy's arm, and then it just didn't even. I think VAR checked it and was like, "Oh yeah, nah, we ain't giving that." But I was thinking, I've seen some scandalous decisions, and that one was right up there. It was right up there. I don't know.
Got another one here from Chris again. He says, "What do you miss about playing? Is it being on the pitch? Is it the banter? Would you ever get involved in Sunday League?" Listen, first of all, if you get involved in Sunday League, you're becoming my manager. So I'll get first.
It's more the banter, being in and around the changing rooms and the training. Games, not so much. more just being in and around the change rooms and the banter that you get and the training. The training is always great.
Here we go. I was waiting for this one to come.
Michael, I was going to ask this as well. What
was the meaning of that DJ celebration you used to do at Liverpool? And did you go out much? Did you get as much out of assisting as much as scoring? So you got two questions there.
The DJ celebration is Spoonie, good friend of mine, and he's a Liverpool fan as well. It was him who got me doing that, the DJ celebration. Did I? Yeah, of course I got a lot out of assisting. As much, probably not as much, but yeah, definitely got a lot out of it, because especially if we're winning games, and this is what it's about, at times where people are looking at it, and I know strikers, I know some strikers are there, they'll win 4-0, and if they haven't scored, they're vexed. I'm not that guy. I'm still going to celebrate with you. So yeah, it wasn't a necessity for me, but again, assisting was great.
Fair enough. Here's one from one of your boys, Kobe, saying, as well as working under Bill and George, any advice to young coaches in the game?
Any advice to?
For younger coaches in the game that are coming into the game?
Be authentic. Have some conviction in whatever you're doing and stick with it, to be honest with you. I like to see some young coaches, because some of the stuff they come, some of the ideas that they come with, you're like, wow, I never thought of that. Oh, that's quite interesting, that. But they're very shy. I don't know if it's shy, but they don't really want to. They're not convicted with it. They're waiting for reassurance at times. Where no, you stick to that. If it's what you believe in, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Got another one here from
the unorthodox.
Yeah. Another one here from Danny Campbell. Shout out to you, Danny. He's a Liverpool fan as well. He says, Emil, in your opinion, what is the most important attribute for a striker?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. Most people are going to say goals, aren't they? Most people then to be quick and sharp. But it depends if you're someone who's going to hold the ball up, or someone who's going to just score your goals. I'm lucky how I played in an era where, and Michael as well, we played in an era where we played two up front. Now, if we played one up front, would Michael be playing up front on his own? It'd be interesting to see then that sort of dynamics, whether they actually would do that. But we formed a partnership, and because we were totally different, and it worked well together.
Now, you didn't really dip too much into the coaching side of it. Obviously, you're doing the whole MIP alumni stuff. But I just wondered, would you kind of change your mind now that you're more involved in the women's game at all? Or is that still...
It's still early. I'm still doing my badges, actually, which this is obviously helping me. But yeah, it's still early. I wouldn't say no. If you'd asked me towards the end of my career, I'd say no, coach is not me. But I've actually enjoyed it, especially when you put something together and you see it working and you see people understanding it and it looks good, and people are getting some enjoyment out of it. It's great when you see that. So yeah, I wouldn't say no, but at this moment in time, it's not in the forefront of my mind to be going and being a manager anywhere or a coach other than where I am.
Yeah. So going back to your playing days as well. What was it like playing out in Australia? What was that experience like?
Loved it. Great club, very relaxed. Just a great place, to be honest with you. Football was totally different. They had a lot of European influence. Dutch is one of them.
Yeah.
And basically, they try and coach the Dutch way, which is pass move, which is great. But inevitably, if you haven't got the players to do it, then you've got to really start looking at something different. And this is where, at times, you feel teams come unstuck. Let's work with what you've got and figure out what's the best for them, instead of just keep trying to bang this through them, and then they make mistakes and you're continuously criticising them for making them mistakes.
Was they affiliated in any way to Newcastle United?
No, I think they were trying to be, but no.
Right.
It's probably for the best. Right now, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's probably for the best. I remember actually seeing you play out there. I was traveling in Australia. I think I told you this before, but
Yeah.
you played for Newcastle Jets and used their marquee signing, and then you played against, is it Sydney, who you had Del Piero?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they build it as well. I remember when I was like, Del Piero versus Heskey, and I was like, yes, give me some of that.
Yeah.
I've got one question, Emil, about nowadays footwear, football boots. They come in all different colours, all different blades, studs, molds, whatever. But I noticed that you, like me, was a Puma King guy in the early part of your career. Did that? What? I loved Puma Kings. They was just so the softness of them, and it was just they was an unreal boot. It was an unreal boot. Did you ever get to when did you get to the point where you sort of changed boots, and what sort of boot did you prefer in your later career?
Anything soft, to be honest with you. I liked a leather boot. I didn't like the other ones. Always liked a leather boot. Puma King was in that. Tiempo was brilliant. Tiempo was, until they started to change it a little bit. I can't remember. I think it was mid. I think it was mid 2000s. They started to change the Tiempo, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But anything with soft leather, to be honest with you, there's so many that do some decent boots, to be honest with you. But I was
when you was at Liverpool, didn't they? I was going to say, didn't Craig Johnson weren't trying to force predators down your face when you was at Liverpool?
No. You know what? They you see how they evolved though. It's amazing how you see how they evolved, and you look at that, and actually people put them on your feet.
So the Tiempos that you used to wear, was it the ones with a white stripe down the tongue, down the middle of the tongue, or was it with a big knife down the back of the heel?
So the one with the white stripe down the tongue, I didn't like.
The ones with a big knife on the heel. They were the ones.
They were the ones. Yeah. They were the better ones. But as well, they were so soft, you'd probably get 10 games out of them.
Yeah.
And then you have to try and, because they would just move all right. But they were so nice.
Yeah.
Got let's get past this question from earlier, but come back to it. So, Truth Hurt saying, do you think they should make goals smaller for the women's game? Now, I remember you said something about the training was light years behind in terms of goalkeeper training. So, is that something to do with it?
The thing is, you would love to think that you could adapt the women's game to the personnel that you have on the pitch as in the women. But again, we want equality, so we have to stick with what it is. But when you're looking at it, on average, a goalkeeper in the women's game is probably 5'9", average, maybe a little bit taller. I don't think they're quite 6 foot. On average, in the men's game, goalkeepers are what, 6'3", 6'4", average. So, but we're stuck in the same goals. A goalkeeper, when you watch, next time you see a penalty taken, a goalkeeper goes like that and he's touching the thing with the crossbar without even trying, like that. You're like, wow, he's a tall guy, dude.
Yeah.
Got an interesting one in from Dan, saying, Emil, why do you think there is so few BME managers in England? Now, this question come up so many different times and get so many different answers from it. Interesting to get your information.
I think we've got to move away from this fact that it's the right person for the job. Because if you don't get in the interview, how do you know if I'm the right? If I can't get in the interview room, how do you know if I'm the right person for the job? We can pull out so many names with all these different qualifications who don't get the opportunity to showcase what they're all about. Now, how do you know they're not the right person for the job? We're in a position now where how can I put it? We've got a lot of people coming out of the game, but we know that they're not going to get the opportunity to utilize what they've learned from the game in a coaching aspect. Why? It's possible because of the actual hiring part of it. It's nothing to do with the actual It's nothing to do with the badges, nothing to do with any of that process. You can go, you can ask the FA, we can ask the Irish FA, we can ask the Welsh FA, we can ask the Scottish FA, how many BAME coaches are past this level, that level, and that level, and they'll tell you. So in essence, it will be the hiring part of it then, won't it? Why aren't they getting that opportunity in the hiring part? Then is you look at them individuals who are hiring at that level. What don't you see in these that you see in them? A lot of people will say it's experience. Well, we don't have the experience. But how do you get experience? You've got to give me a chance to get experience. How did he get all them experience that he got there? Someone gave him an opportunity. And I bet you when he got that opportunity, he wasn't as qualified as that person there that you're telling about experience.
Yeah.
So we're struggling on every level, and it'll inevitably fall down when it comes to the hiring side of it, and probably getting into that interviewing room, and even sometimes knowing what an interview looks like. If you've never been in there, it could be daunting for some, regardless of how much experience you've got in the playing side of it and coaching side of it. If you've never been in that interview side, it could be daunting, and if you don't know what it's supposed to look like, then you fall down.
Just following on from that question from Dan, just have you ever thought of like what it would look like with a sort of class of '92 model? Because you obviously see what they've done, they up and built it up, and obviously I reckon within 10 years or so they'll be knocking on the Premier League door. Like, have you ever thought like, why hasn't yourself and Ian Wright and Sol Campbell and
I think that's probably a level that you'd probably have to go down to really make a difference. Is in the ownership of a club, like you're saying, like a Salford, where they've taken them from non-league up into the leagues and then trying to progress that way. I think that's probably the way of doing it if you really want to get into that realm. Because if you look at it, we don't have any owners. Well, we talk about BAME. I can't really talk about black. We don't have any black owners. We very rarely have. I think it's 33% playing, but 2% coaching. The England is 50% black. The under 21s is 70% black. But when you're looking at coaching and when you're talking about owning, it's very, very low.
Couple of questions have come off the back of that, in fact. So Damo Brown said, do you think that's because of the makeup of the men in the boardroom that hasn't changed for years?
That's one of it. That's definitely one of the. Well, I think with what Greg Clark it was Greg Clark who got sacked. I think from what he said, it shows what people think about black candidates when it comes to coaching and when it comes to wanting to go in the hierarchy. We're not bothered. We don't have the interest of going up. Well, who have you asked? Who have you asked? You haven't asked anyone I've been around, because they would love to get in that environment. They would love to know. They would love to help change that environment. But again, it's what people think at times, and that's stopping others from moving forward.
Yeah, the football that I'm in. Sorry, I'll get to that question in a minute. Where I've been in and around non-league and stuff, I'm seeing more and more over the last year or so. I've seen more and more young black men and young black ladies getting into coaching now. So possibly I'm thinking that in the past, young black men and young black women didn't feel confident enough to apply for these roles. Maybe they thought that the stigma was always, I'm not going to get it anyway, so what's the point of me applying for it? And I think more and more now it's going to become more and more natural. And I think over the next sort of 10 to 20 years, you're going to see a lot more young black men, young black women in managerial roles or in high level coaching roles. Or I hope we will. But I honestly think that's going to happen, because I see it, and I see more and more getting involved in non-league coaching or in academy coaching now. So I think it's changing. It's slowly. I think we're slowly improving things in that aspect.
Yeah.
So there's a question with Carl.
Yeah, sorry. So Carl saying that, do you think the FA need to help more coaches know what the interview look like during courses that qualify you to coach these levels. So again, part of the it's the kind of
100%. 100%, and I think mock interviews is very important. I think feedback is ultra important, so you can actually then go back and address what you felt was a flaw or what you felt wasn't right. Because again, you can only if you don't have any feedback, if you don't know what's going on, then how are you supposed to address any of this? So yeah, I think that 100%. Whether it's the FA, whether it's PFA, whoever it is, someone needs to do something. I think LMA was that League Managers Association. People like that. All these different associations, they all need to have a hand in helping change.
He's also followed up by just asking again. Also, is there really an interview process, or are jobs already lined up for certain candidates as well?
Well, they're trying to change that, aren't they? They're trying. A lot of it was within the network. So I sack you, and I already know it's so and so from that agency or that group or that thing. They're getting it in, but I will do this process just to make tick boxes. But they're trying to change that. I know the FA brought in certain different rules. I don't know the full ins and outs of them, but I know they're trying to change a lot of that work because again, it was a network that a lot of people can't, and it's and that goes without saying. Even it's nothing to do with the color of your skin. It was just an old boys network that a lot of people couldn't get in, and you had to be invited in.
Yeah,
secret society sort of thing. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you obviously played for quite a few teams in the Midlands, obviously from the Midlands. Like, did you ever get stick when you went to Birmingham and then obviously ended up playing for Aston Villa as well?
Nah, I went to Wigan in between, so it was good.
So that broke you up.
Because I think Martin O'Neill wanted me at Villa, and I just couldn't do it. So I left and then came back.
Fair enough. Daniel Jones is saying, could the FA have more courses which creates more opportunities for upcoming coaches to be as qualified as possible?
Well, they have the courses there. What more do you need? They have the courses there. They have the level 1, 2, B, A, and Pro. They have your youth modules, etc. Now, you don't need any more courses than that because, again, what you'll find, I don't really need to be diss anyone's courses or anything like that. What you'll find is you'll get all these and then you'll go into the environment and it'll be totally different to what you've actually been taught, and you'll be learning on the job again. So it's about getting in the environment and learning there, because I've been in the football environment as a player. I've had physios come from university and I'm telling them what to do to me. Yeah, but you're studying, you've been at university for 2 years, surely it's totally different when you're in the environment.
Yeah. One thing that came up, we've got to ask you, you're 11 players that you would say that you've played with that are your greatest 11. So
wow.
We already know the striker, but we've got to start from the goalkeeper anyway. So goalkeeper, who would you say?
I would probably say Seaman. I know people diss me for that for the Brazil goal, but he was good. He was outstanding, to be fair. Right back, I'd probably go. You know what? I'm going to go Kyle Walker.
Wow.
I'm going to go Kyle Walker. I played with Kyle when he was very young, right? And I said to Kyle, and I met him recently. I said it to him again. I said, you're going to be one of the best players, best right backs in the country. The only thing the only thing that's going to let you down is when you make a mistake, you go missing for 10 minutes. I can't afford you to go missing for 10 minutes. But he was good. He had an engine up and down. He's got the ability, as long as he keeps it simple at times. He had the ability. He had his passing ability as well. But back then, and I was at Villa at the time. He was only a young lad. He came on loan from Spurs, and he was frightening. So I'm going to say him. I'm going to say Rio and Sol. I'm going to say Ashley Cole, Stevie. I'll say Stevie.
Before you move on, Ashley Cole, best left back there's been in our generation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
best player of our generation.
Yeah, because I don't think we put enough respect on his name, Ashley Cole, man. Like,
True. Well, he's got 100 caps, and that speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
he'll get the MBE soon.
yeah.
Stevie G, and I'll say Scholesy, and probably I'll probably go Gary McAllister.
Gary McAllister. Okay.
Yeah. Came when he was 36. Came when he was 36 to Liverpool. And he was outstanding.
Yeah.
I'll go left. I'll go Bex. Trying to think who else.
What formation we playing here? 4-4-8-2 or something?
4-3-3. 4-3-3.
Okay.
I've gone modern day.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who would go right. I've played with.
So you got what? Beckham, Scholes, Gerard in the middle.
No, I've gone Scholes and
Gerard,
Gerard,
McAllister
and then
and
McAllister.
Oh, sorry.
I've
Okay.
done three. I change this every time someone asks me. I'll go Bex. I'll go Michael up top with on the right probably. I played with Ashley Young, who was on fire at the time, so I'll probably go with him.
What a player, man. Okay. And then to manage it, again,
Me.
all the managers, you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Apart from you, all the managers he done.
I'll probably for that team. I'll probably say Gerard. Houllier.
Yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
so.
Not a bad side, that, to be fair.
Where's that finishing in this league? Where are they finishing in the league?
Oh, we have to win that. If I put that together, they've got to win it.
Yeah, that team's smashing the Premier League.
Last couple ones here. So Jake saying, did you have any pre-match rituals before the game?
No, not really. I know a lot of people get sucked into that because the thing with that is mentally you get a block. If anything doesn't go to plan, you get a mental block at times. So I didn't feed into all that. I've got to put this on there. I've got to at this time. I've got to make sure I step in the room here. No, forget all that. Just play your game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone from you, Kobe? Any more?
No, I used to superstitions. I don't know if about you, but I used to think. I used to have some weird thoughts. Like a corner, if I hadn't scored for it, I'd be like, oh, I'm never going to score. And I'd have it in my mind, and I'm never going to score. And then I'd score. So then, like a week after that, I'd be like, well, I'm going to think that again. And then I'd score again. It was weird. It had some weird goings on when I played. But obviously, you played for some fantastic clubs and some big clubs. I know Liverpool was obviously your most successful. But what club did you enjoy it most at? What did you feel? Where did you feel most at home?
Probably Leicester. Yeah, probably Leicester. Obviously, I'm at home, and if I told you some of the stories about the way that we did things, you wouldn't believe. Like the week before we won our cup finals, we were out in Tenerife partying. that was what Martin. You know what you should do.
Who was the little clique of players around that sort of time?
It was Steve Walsh, Jerry Taggart, Neil Lennon, Muzzy Is It, Steve Guppy, Matty Elliott, Frank Sinclair. Yeah, it was crazy.
There's some messy nights in Tenerife.
Yeah, Damo Brown just said it as well. How much did you enjoy Twice as Nice on a Sunday? Seeing you go hard, you must have had a few fines for missing training on Monday.
I never missed training, mate.
Twice as nice.
Never ever missed training.
So what, you was out partying hard and then what? Just straight in Monday morning?
Straight in there. Yeah. That's what it's all about. I was young. Can't do that now.
Just like, what's your plans for this year? Obviously, COVID's kind of hit everyone for 6, literally. Obviously, up until February, fingers crossed, maybe even March. But what's the plans going forward for this year?
Obviously, I'm coaching, so I'm doing a lot of media, so doing stuff for the Premier League, etc. Just keep on top of that. Coaching, keep the girls at the top of the league, so we can get promoted and tick off the boxes that Leicester have thrown towards us, and then look forward to a bit of holiday before we get back into the WSL 1.
Who are you having for the Premier League this season? Who's winning it?
Man City for me, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What have you made of your old two clubs in the three clubs in the league?
Where do you want me to start? Which one do you want me to start? Leicester, Brendan. He's done fantastic. If you look at his stats are very, very good. And it's not just his stats, it's about who he's actually managed and the players that he's made better. He's done a fantastic job in that as well. He's made players stars, and he's got them better and better. So you've got to take it out after that. And he's very, very. When you've got a manager who, I haven't heard anyone say a bad word about him. You know he's doing something right.
Yeah. Because he's making Maddison look like a world beater. I've got to admit, like Maddison's.
And even his interview was even better. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. Don't forget, Brendan Rodgers was a massive part in Chelsea's success.
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough credit for that, mate.
Yeah, because I'm sure he worked with the youth back then as well, didn't he? Yeah. And then he went to Watford, and his win ratio wasn't bad at Watford. It wasn't bad. And then everyone remembers him at Swansea. And it's even there. Swansea's win ratio was good there as well. Is it Leon Britton?
Yeah,
made him a star.
Yeah,
players like that, and real good midfielders. So he's done fantastic. Liverpool just hit a blip at the minute, and they just when you're just in a rut and you don't know how to get out of it, and that's where they are at this moment in time. And I think teams have sussed out how to stop them, how to frustrate them. And if you do that, they can't get themselves. It just seems like everyone tries the same thing, running with the ball. And when sometimes you've got to move the ball. That's one thing with Man City. They move the ball so quickly that it throws people off, and it exploits spaces. And Villa have done fantastic, to be honest with you. I think, honestly, I don't even know how that was a goal, but anyway. I think they've done fantastic. I think Jack Grealish is a wonderful player. I played with him when he was a kid. He was 15, came and trained with us. He was that good then against us. He was brilliant. And now he's just gone on to his own, and he's a star.
Yeah. He'll still remain there next season.
Look, I didn't think he would be there this long, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I'd have thought he'd have gone probably a couple of seasons ago. Because he's got the ability to play in any team that he wants to be honest, and make a difference.
Yeah, he's a real star to be fair. Look, oh man, this has been great. Emil, thank you, man. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. It's my fault.
It's been an honour for me to talk to you as well.
No problem. Thank you.
There you go. And even big job as well on your goal scoring record as well.
I'm going to be screen recording that, mate, and I'm going to be drinking on that.
On social media.
My Twitter's going off.
But Emil, again, thank you very much. And again, people, it's my fault. I thought it was 7. It is definitely 8. But again, he's still here. Look, you can see him in the flesh. And again, thank you for all watching and getting your questions into Emile Heskey as well, man. England international, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
No problem. You take care.
And you, man.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.